What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys your latest behind-the-bar reviews for One Piece! One Piece 979. Yes, I'm making this review a day early. It'll still be released along with the regular viz, just in case there's a major change-up and I need to go back and edit this video. But unfortunately, I was already spoiled, and I'm going to have a lot to do tomorrow working on the basement here, so I decided to just get this review out since I was kind of spoiled on Twitter accidentally already about what this chapter kind of maintains too. So, and honestly, not a huge spoiler because not really a whole big reveal or anything really happened in this chapter. We're building up to the battle. We see that Orochi, like we start off basically saying Orochi got lax. He let his guard down, and we go through that whole idea that, and I never considered this because I was like, Conjuro, he's still an enemy. So the Beast Pirates, so yeah, he lands on Onigashima, and they attack him. He's one of the Red Scabbards. So it's funny, he's having a hard time getting to Orochi because only Kaido and Orochi, it appears, maybe like Fujaku or whatever his name is, the Fukajaku, whatever, Fukajirokuju, or, you know, the leader of the Oniwaban, maybe he knows as well, but very few people know that Conjuro is actually the betrayer. And thus, given that fact, he has to fight his way to Orochi. You know, going through the back alleys. He can't just fly right in head first. Orochi! Here's what's happening! You know, that's not going to work. So, I never even considered that, in all honesty, and now this makes a lot more sense as to how the people aren't warned yet, why they're still partying on, why Orochi's getting more and more drunk, why nobody seems to be raising the alarm, and all the armies are splitting off. We have the submarine of law taking most of the scabbards in one direction, underneath, you know, in the back alley. We have Kinemon leading one group, and then we have Denjiro leading other group. Alright. And, of course, everybody else. We got the Straw Hats and stuff. What's hilarious is that Luffy and Zoro ran off, of course, but we got the Black Rhino, you know, super, like just a giant black rhinoceros motorcycle. Like, Frankie is ahead of his time in the One Piece world. Like, yeah, Vegapunk's cool and stuff, but we don't get to see a lot of what Vegapunk's up to and all the stuff. Like, has he invented a flying machine? Can he do that and stuff like that? We don't know that stuff, right? But what we do get to see, like, yeah, the pacifist okay, so he made Terminators. Got it. But that's kind of old news. Frankie's always coming up with new fun stuff, like a motorcycle. You know, I mean, that's just a lot of fun. So, he's got this, and Chopper's driving the Brachio tank number 4 or 5 or what have you. He's always got number things going on. So Chopper's all like, Commander Chopper, yeah! And Chopper's so happy. They fill up with everybody. Sanji thinks he's going to jump in and be like, Nami, let us go. We're on a rendezvous to the battle. And, you know, being the simp that he is. And, yeah, it's all filled up. So he's like, damn it, and he tries to get Usopp to move. That doesn't work. Frankie basically looks at Robin and says, hey, you know, there's a spot on the back of the bike. You can ride on that sort of idea. And Brooke jumps on. Oh, well, thank you. I'll be in your care. And yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. And Frankie's like, no, ladies first. Like, even Frankie's kind of like, what are you, stupid? I was referring to the lady. The lady gets to ride on, you know, they're not supposed to walk. Like, what's wrong with you? And Brooke's like, oh, yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. And then we have Jinbei and Robin basically, Jinbei basically saying, this crew, rambunctious as ever, he's just having a grand old time. He had it in the last chapter, he's having it in this chapter. He's like, you guys are the best. This is fantastic. Just total unorthodox, because Luffy ran off because he thinks Kid's going to cause an uproar. And he's like, I got to go stop him. And that's when the whole crew's like, but Jinbei, that's what Luffy's going to do. He's going to go cause an uproar. He goes, well, that's exactly what Roronoa Zoro said. He said he's going to go cause an uproar. I better go stop him. But Zoro's going to get lost, Jinbei. And then Jinbei's just like, keep like the sweat drop every time. The comedy, I love the dynamic with Jinbei on the crew now because Jinbei's not used to the usual antics. He knows of the Straw Hats, he knows who everybody is, but he hasn't spent a whole lot of time with them. He spent a lot of time with Luffy. He knows Luffy quite well. But outside of that, really, has he really? And of course, he spent some fair amount of time with the people that were at Whole Cake, but the Frankies and the Robins and the Zoros and stuff, he hasn't really spent a whole lot of time with them yet, especially as a member of the Straw Hat crew, so they're kind of finding their own little dynamic, right? And I enjoy that. So Jinbei's not so accustomed to the standard when Luffy says he's going to do A, he's actually doing B, that kind of stuff, right? Also, we get a nice scene between Robin and Jinbei. And I really enjoy that. That's a lot of fun because Robin and Jinbei, we haven't really seen interact much. And Robin's just like, oh, we have someone so mature, it actually puts me at ease. And Jinbei goes, well, yes, I mean, I'm a seasoned veteran of battle and such. And I just, I don't want to disappoint on our very first battle. And what he means by this, is his first real battle fighting alongside the Straw Hats as the helmsman, as the official member of the crew. This is his first battle going into with the Straw Hats. You could argue that Whole Cake, he was kind of there, but that was more of an escape thing. He was sort of official back then. I mean, by my logic, he was a member of the crew as far back as Fishman Island. But here, it's his real debut amongst all the members. All of them are together again, and they're going into their very first pirate battle as a full crew. So that's what I believe he's referring to, and he's just like, I don't want to disappoint on my first battle, let's do this sort of idea. So Robin and him have a good talk as they just say, we'll walk, we'll catch up, no big deal, they're all in disguise. After this, that's all fine and good, but we do see somebody onlooking, and that's kind of dangerous. Also, I forgot to mention that Momonosuke has noticed after all the people that Kanjuro had to beat up while he's got Momonosuke tied and bound, he notices a small dagger on the ground. So I'm going to assume that he has somehow grabbed that dagger, hidden it, and he's probably going to do the whole cut the bands behind the back sort of idea, right? That's a possibility, or he hid it so he can do a surprise attack when the time is right, what have you, but that I feel like that needs to be noted. And after this, so now we've seen the dynamic and stuff, we will jump back to Luffy and stuff. Ironically, we're going to run into who I believe to be Daifuku, and that was kind of my idea for who Kaido's kid was. And that seems to be completely dwarfed in this chapter, unfortunately. We all would like to think that Katakuri is Kaido's son. But by that logic, Daifuku and Oven also need to be Kaido's children. Not unprecedented. Daifuku and Oven are no slouches. They're some of the strongest members of Big Mom's crew as well, alongside of Katakuri being the strongest. So that's heavily implied here. And it would have been fine because it said my son, not plural, but Daifuku, I don't believe Oven or Katakuri, I believe they're still at Whole Cake Island. Daifuku was the only one of the triplets to come with Big Mom, so it makes sense he would say, my son. My theory was fine, everybody had this theory, but it seems like it's been completely washed away by the next part of the chapter. Now, here in the next part of the chapter, what we do get is Kaido and the Topiropo, and King and Jack are there as well. So Queen's, of course, given the performance of a lifetime, funky, 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 and that's all fine and good. I like Queen. But King calls them all together under the guise that Kaido was going to call them all together to meet Linlin, to meet Big Mom, but she's getting changed right now. I guess I suppose woman of her stature and stuff, I'm sure they didn't exactly have a kimono ready to fit her right off the bat. I'm sure it might take a little more than 5 minutes to change into clothes when you're Big Mom. So, fine dandy, so Linlin isn't ready yet, and whatever. So, I didn't call you. King did, using Kaido's name. And he even states, because Kaido says, you guys, why aren't you drinking? They're like, well, we want to drink with you, Kaido. We don't want to drink with the peons. We're drinking with our boss. We're drinking with you, man. And he's like, yeah, I know. We're seeing a really interesting side of Kaido in this chapter, because I find like he's not being, I suppose it's probably because he's not drunk right yet. Like, he's drinking, but he's not drunk yet. So he seems to have a level head because he's talking about this stuff, and he seems to have more brains than I guess a lot of the fan base would give him credit for, because he even says, like, well, that being said, I'm not the one who called you, so why don't you tell them why you called them here, King, sort of idea. And he says, well, Kaido, I called them here and I used your name because they wouldn't have shown up if I had used my name and said King wants to see everybody. So you can tell that already the dynamic of the crew is unstable at the best. It's not exactly a full down, everyone listens to the calamities. The Calamities say go, you go. Apparently, that's not the way. It's kind of like the Gorosei, or the world government, summoning the Shishibukai. They basically do these things on a whim. Mihawk sometimes shows up, sometimes doesn't. They don't always all show up. Boa, Jinbei, like they're an unruly bunch, and it seems like the Topiropo are a similar idea. They'll come when Kaido calls, but the Calamities, who are above them, nope. This whole thing goes on kind of a two-parter. There's two things that are really discussed here. Well, let's talk about three. Number one is the Topiropo, especially Sasaki and Who's Who, are two former captains. All right, we already have the acknowledgement of two former captains, at the very least, in the Topiropo. X-Drake, of course, being another one, but we don't know the background on really all the others. But they are apparently... They must have been assimilated, similar to how Ace, and Pirates and stuff, like... Sort of the same idea that Whitebeard had. You have your affiliates, but they go off and make their own crews, but sometimes you can assimilate other captains of other crews into your crew, sort of idea. And that seems to be the case here. They are gunning, and it's no short surprise, it's that you guys are gunning for the top spot. You want to become a Calamity, don't you? And they're like, yeah, well, this crew is the reason we're here, because this crew is the strongest, get the top positions. And King's just like, you should know your place. And I'm like, yes, King not backing down at all. He just like, yeah, fine dandy, but sit down. You aren't no Calamity yet. It's kind of, I feel like it's that Darth Vader sort of thing. Like, I acknowledge that, but you're not a Jedi yet. And I'm like, all right, cool, right? Ironic, Star Wars reference. So the thing is that after this, they discuss about a second issue, which is simply, I guess he brought that up for just to lay it out in the open. You guys are gunning for the Calamity positions, but you guys shouldn't be. Like, leave it alone. Don't cause mischief in our Beast Pirate crew sort of idea. And yes, I'm gonna keep calling them Calamities, not All Stars, because that's kind of stupid. They're not hockey players and baseball players. They're goddamn Calamities. So either way, after this, we get the Topiropo is sent there to kind of look after. After King brings it up, it's like, your problem woke up. I'm assuming that means his son woke up. We're going to need the information. We'll eventually get the info on, it'll all make sense once we find out who this Yamato, son of Kaido, is. I find it ironic that Yamato, that's a very straightforward, simple name for Kaido's son, but Yamato. Yamato is apparently Kaido's son, and he's disappeared, and they're looking for him, and now they're going to go off and try to find him. All right, and he's basically enlisting the Topiropo to do so. Now, once again, we have the Topiropo, or some of the members, like the little girl one that begins with the U, Uli, or Uki, or whatever her name is. She basically goes, no, we don't want to get involved in your family problems, sort of idea. Page one's like, quiet down. And the idea is that they're going to exchange kind of a deal here. All right, I need you guys to go and find my son. I don't know why Kaido needs to enlist the help of the Topiropo, and King seems to think that that's part of the reason he called them there, was to enlist their help in finding Yamato. So how far could he get? Where did he go? Does he have we already know about the invisible fruit, and that's not his, so why is it so hard to find him? We'll all these questions will be answered in later chapters, though there is a break next week, so yeah, we're going to be waiting a long time for One Piece. This whole thing is just causing problems with One Piece too, and all manga releases, so, but either way, the deal is now that they will help in exchange for, Kaido says, all right, well, whoever finds him gets the opportunity to challenge any of the Calamities of their picking for their position. You guys cool with that? And Jack and King are there going, no problem. And Sasaki and Who's Who are like, yeah, all right, I like this deal. We'll come help if we get a shot at being a Calamity. So now they're going to get a challenge, a duel, a one-on-one against the Calamity of their picking after this is all said and done. That's pretty interesting. Maybe that'll happen during. Maybe the attack won't happen quick enough, and they'll interrupt the middle of a duel. And honestly, that would be fantastic, because it would actually weaken the firepower or the strength of the Topiropo and the Calamities, because I can't believe that a Calamity would completely slap, and if they did, there goes one Topiropo, And if not, and they're kind of evenly matched, it's going to weaken both of them. So one Calamity at half strength and a Topiropo at half strength, that's also a boon for of course, the Alliance. This all adds up to the fact that we now know Kaido's son's name. There's apparently not just the announcement of the greatest pirate alliance of all time with Big Mom and Kaido finally joining forces and all that such. They lay out the schedule sort of idea here for some kind of info dumping. And one of the things is that after this, and after the Big Mom pirates get here and everything, Kaido is going to make a very important announcement. And even the Topiropos basically say, it's not like Kaido for you to be so secretive. And that's what I mean. We're getting some depth into Kaido's character here. We saw this in the Odin flashback when Odin finally died. But we're seeing a little more of it right now as well. He's just kind of like, yeah, well, if I told you guys right now, it wouldn't make any sense. And I'm like, so even Kaido isn't just sitting down there being a total dumbass or anything like that. Kaido's actually, and it makes sense, I don't think someone that, he needs to have some form of cunning or intelligence to have become to the position he is and hold on to it as long as he has, right? It's not something that's just, and he wouldn't have all these underlings who follow him, Master Kaido, all this stuff, if he was just going around, so it makes sense for the character, but I'm glad we're seeing more insight into how Kaido talks, how he thinks, and when he's sober, how he really behaves and acts. He seems to have even kept things from from his crew, from some of the trusted members of his crew, and he's like, yeah, well, I've got an announcement to make. It's going to change stuff. I mean, he could just be announcing, what is the big announcement? I'm sure there'll be plenty of theory videos about that, especially given the break. But I'm honestly going to assume it's either going to be something that none of us can predict, or it's going to be, now we go to war with the red-haired pirates, or now we're going to go attack Marie-Joie, or now we're going to go, it's going to be a big thing like that. Let's destroy the Marines, or let's go take down Blackbeard, or let's go take down Shanks. That's going to be his big announcement, is that their first job is they're going to go and they're going to take down one of the other Yonkos, or both of them, and they're going to conquer everything. They're going to assimilate what they can, and then they're going to go after and destroy the world government after they've defeated their other only opposition in the pirate world, which would be the other Yonko. So that there's a lot to unpack there. There's so much to do. Or maybe Kaido's stepping down and he wants Yamato to take over the Beast Pirates. I can't see that because we never met the guy, and Kaido is still the strongest creature in the One Piece world according to everything we know. So I can't see that. It's just, yeah, the announcement is going to create a lot of theory videos, I guarantee you. After this, we do jump over and we do see who I believe to be Daifuku. I could be wrong, but that's Daifuku, right? Daifuku's there because he even says, I thought I seen Luffy's just jumping around and nobody's recognized him, everybody's drunk and stuff. He's like, look at all the delicious food, all this, all that. It's a short scene. Daifuku's trying to figure out who he is. He's like, your face looks somewhat familiar, and that's why that's got to be Daifuku, and it's ironic that that's who I thought was Kaido's son from the get-go, but whatever. And here we see that they're treating the red bean soup or red bean paste as, gross, this is too sweet, this is sugary, we want sake, we don't want any of this crap, forget this crap, and they're spilling it all over the place, and the Beast Pirates are being very, unappreciative, so to speak. Surprisingly, considering, isn't that part of the stuff that Big Mom and Queen both love? So you'd think you'd save it for them. But anyways, I think that's the Oshiruko, or isn't it? The red bean soup or red bean paste? Anyways, the thing here is now Luffy be pissed because he's remembering Tama and all the stuff that she went through, and how this is her best birthday ever because she ate something so delicious and she can't forget that flavor. It's her greatest birthday. She was so hungry, and Luffy's looking at it and he's seeing the waste of it, and he's just like crack, and he's got the glare. I think he's just gonna conquer his hockey half the why hasn't he done that yet is beyond me, but I have a feeling that right here, the next chapter, Luffy's gonna have conquered hockeyed that entire banquet table. He's not going to go all out and be just take them all out, but I have a feeling he's going to just jing, and everyone's going to be like, and everyone will pass it off as everybody getting too drunk too quickly or something like that. They'll be like, these guys, they're all so drunk, lightweights of the Beast Pirates. That's what we get for hiring new recruits and stuff. So they'll still be able to keep sort of that like mystery held long enough. The disguise will hold up a little bit longer, so to speak. So I have a feeling like I don't think he's just gonna bam and start a fight. I think it's gonna be Conqueror's hockey, and then because the glare is kind of symbolizing that's what he does. And yeah. So, but what do you guys think? Unfortunately, Chapter 980 is another week break. A lot of the mangas are going to be slow with that sort of idea, and One Piece always used to have about only 3 weeks and a break, 3 weeks and a break anyways. So either way, I thought it was a pretty good chapter. It was fun. What do you guys think? Like, comment, and subscribe as always. This has been Griever with your One Piece Chapter 979 review behind the bars. We'll see you back here next time. Drink responsibly as always.